People don't get to see the early news, and they think the late news is on too late. But with our primetime news hour on MSNBC, you can see all the day's stories on your schedule. You can even get into the news by getting on the internet. When the day is just about done, the world isn't going anywhere. It'll now be there waiting for you.
The News with Brian Williams, every night at 9, only on MSNBC.
Imagine if you could turn back time.
Good evening, I'm Tom Brokaw.
It was like being in the eye of a hurricane.
Relive your life and times with exclusive moments from NBC News. Join Jane Pauley for Time and Again, every night at 7 Eastern on MSNBC.
Make the digital revolution work for you with The Site, on cable, on the internet. The Site, every night at 10, only on MSNBC.
The revolution begins here.
From now on, the promise of the internet and the power of television become one. Because from now on, NBC News and Microsoft will revolutionize the way you get news.
MSNBC.
A 24-hour cable and internet news service. The future of news from the people you know. MSNBC. You're connected to MSNBC.
Good morning and welcome to MSNBC. I'm Jody Applegate, and here are some of the top stories we're covering for you today. Boris Yeltsin is a no-show for a planned meeting with Vice President Al Gore, and now questions are once again swirling about the Russian leader's health. Bob Dole is fading fast. A new MSNBC poll has a bleak forecast for the Republican candidate. And the U.S. and Saudi Arabia can't see eye to eye in the wake of that bombing. The U.S. wants to move its troops to safer quarters, but the Saudis say, no way. Along with those stories, we're making a little news of our own today with the launch of MSNBC. News and information 24 hours a day. Join us here on cable and connect with us at our own website, MSNBC on the internet. You'll find it at msnbc.com. Every day, we'll take the top stories and cover them in depth, bringing you context and perspective using the worldwide resources of NBC News and Microsoft. One of the biggest stories in the coming months, of course, the race for the White House, and that's where we find Tom Brokaw this morning. Tom?
Jody, good morning. There is a growing sense of anticipation here at the White House as this campaign steps into ever higher gear with every passing week. The Democrats and the Republicans, of course, next month will hold their national convention. The GOP in San Diego, the Democrats will be in Chicago. President Clinton spent this weekend with his family at Camp David, but he is coming back to the White House this morning because he has what we think is a very important appointment tonight at 8 o'clock on MSNBC, the debut of Internight. That's our primetime interview program, and I'll be going one-on-one with the president. We'll have a lot to talk to him about, including that meeting today that did not occur in Moscow between Vice President Al Gore and Boris Yeltsin, the president of Russia. Or is he? We'll be asking the president about that, and we'll be asking questions that have been submitted to as well on the Microsoft network on MSNBC.com. Thousands of queries over the weekend. By the way, Internight will occur every night during the week at 8 o'clock. I'll be joined by a distinguished list of colleagues, Bob Costas and Katie Couric and Bryant Gumbel, Bill Moyers, and Ed Gordon, all of them on Internight. So we'll have a lot to talk about tonight on MSNBC at 8, on MSNBC, on Internight, and then, of course, I'll see you from here tonight as well on NBC Nightly News. So, Jody, we're off to a fast start.
All right, Tom, I hope you have time for those thousands of questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Of course, another major story that we're going to be covering this summer is the Olympics. And to tell us more about that now, today's Katie Couric and Matt Lauer. Good morning, Katie and Matt.
Hi, Jody. Good morning. I want you to know that Matt and I are extremely jealous, and we're going to demand a cappuccino machine in our next contract, Jody.
But ours is going to work. It's going to be hooked up.
Pretty exciting. Anyway, as you mentioned, Jody, we're going to be headed to Atlanta this week. The Today Show will be live in Atlanta for 2.5 weeks beginning Wednesday. The opening ceremonies, of course, are on Friday. They will be held here at Atlanta's brand new Olympic Stadium. You're looking at a live picture of that right now. That's also where some of the key events of the games will take place, especially track and field. And today, by the way, is official check-in day at the Olympic Village. Thousands of athletes will converge here beginning this morning. Of course, the Olympics are about more than just sports. Politics, security, even the southern summer heat could well become part of this story, and that's something Matt and I are watching very closely. In fact, I'm starting to schwitz just thinking about it.
No,
Matt.
baby powder is the key. I bought a big tub of it, and I'm going to be handing it out for all of us. You, Brian, everybody, Al, we can all use it.
Sounds like a good
Also,
idea.
traffic is going to be a concern. People are curious about how this is going to be congested in downtown Atlanta, how you're going to get from one venue to the other anyway. We're going to talk about all those stories and a lot more from Atlanta throughout the games. MSNBC will be your source for Olympic news throughout the entire day. And MSNBC on the internet will make the coverage interactive, providing a goldmine of resources for Olympic Games and Olympic news. Jody?
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Katie. Whether it's politics, the Olympics, or any of the stories we're following, will also provide historical perspective, something made easier by the 250,000 hours of material in the NBC News archives. Throughout the day, we'll show you some of the best of NBC News over the years. And every night at 7 Eastern Time, we'll bring it all together on Time and Again with Jane Pauley. Jane?
Thanks, Jody. NBC News has been around a long time, bringing the news to generations of Americans. On Time and Again, we'll share some of the most compelling television of the past 50 years, exploring the living history within the NBC News archives. We'll connect the past to the present, revisiting stories large and small, reported by all the great men and women of NBC News. The Nightly News with Tom Brokaw carries on the tradition of Huntley and Brinkley, of Frank McGee, and the late John Chancellor. Today, alumni include Dave Garroway, Frank Blair, Jim Hartz, and Barbara Walters. I recall spending some time there myself. Time and Again launches tonight with the story of Apollo 11, the giant leap for mankind 27 years ago this week. NBC News coverage as it happened, much of it unseen for more than a quarter of a century. Jody?
Thank you, Jane. Bringing all the day's developments into focus every night at 9 here on MSNBC, the news with Brian Williams. Brian?
Jody, it has been a dream around here, around NBC News and the other networks, I might add, for a long time to have a full hour in prime time to present the news. That dream is upon us tonight in almost 12 hours. Among the stories we're following for tonight's premiere program, that rash of black church burnings across the South. We'll look at how one Texas town is working out to put out the fires, literally, of hate about both black and white. We also want to let you know you can find more on that story on our webpage. This is the way it's going to work. We'll have specific information about individual churches, for example, the status of each investigation. All part of MSNBC on the internet. Jody?
Thank you, Brian. One of the ongoing stories that we're covering at MSNBC is the communications revolution, new technology, new media, all with a profound effect on everyday life. Every night at 10 Eastern Time, The Site will bring you the latest. Here's Soledad O'Brien with more.
Hi, Jody. Tell Katie and Matt that if they want to borrow my cappuccino machine, I'd love to have them borrow it if they ever come out to San Francisco.
Okay.
And the digital revolution is changing the way we live and work. And for 1 hour every night, the site will examine the impact of technology on our lives. In addition to covering the latest industry news every night, we'll talk to the leaders who are making it all happen. Tonight, we'll tell you the inside story of hacker Kevin Mitnick, and you'll meet the first real-time computer-generated cyber journalist. Reach us on the World Wide Web at thesite.msnbc.com 24 hours a day for more information, complete transcripts of interviews, and to tell us what you think. Jody?
Thank you, Soledad. As we've seen this morning, getting connected also means exploring MSNBC on the internet at msnbc.com. NBC News and Microsoft are partners in this venture. In fact, right now you're looking live at the MSNBC newsroom at Microsoft headquarters in Redmond, Washington. MSNBC will tap Microsoft's internet resources to bring added dimension to the day's news coverage. All the programs we've talked about this morning, as well as the programs of NBC News, provide additional services on MSNBC on the internet. Ways to talk back, get more information, to explore sights and sounds, as well as links to related stories. It's all about covering the news, and to that end, here's this morning's top story. Russian President Boris Yeltsin has postponed a meeting scheduled for today with Vice President Al Gore, fueling speculation about his health. Aides say Yeltsin is well but on vacation and will meet with Gore tomorrow. NBC's Jim Maceda is in Moscow this morning with the latest. Jim?
Good morning, Jody. Well, I can only add that we're all excited here out of Moscow to be a part of this first broadcast by MSNBC. As you mentioned, eyebrows and questions were raised once again concerning Boris